face our own challenges in our daily life, but we all share a common responsibility to protect the planet for future generations. When the countries of the world gather for the Conference of the Parties, or COP28 in Dubai, it is to work out what can be done to prevent climate change from taking away that safe future for our children and grandchildren. Welcome to a special edition of Eco Africa, looking at such solutions. I am Sandra Kahomza Twinobio, right here in Kampala, Uganda.
And I am Chris Alems in Nigeria. That's the thing, Sandra. All around the globe, people have noted that the seasons have changed within their lifetimes, from how much rainfall there is or is not, to an increase in extremely hot or stormy weather. Climate change is already affecting us all, as you can hear from these witnesses from all over the world.
I can only put it in 3 words. It was like green, clean, and beautiful.
At my home, we had all sorts of trees. Fruit trees like fig trees and peaches, aromatic herbs. These are almost impossible to keep in your garden now.
Now my children cannot, I can only be telling them stories, and I only refer to textbooks at times, or when we watch wild films. Then they say, you see this, we used to have them come in our area, but now they don't. We only take them to the zoo.
And start snowing before school, because school would start like the second week of August, and then like the kids would start walking to school in the snow, but now look.
It used to be prosperous. It was not like now. Animals and people used to live a good life. We used to farm, we used to slaughter animals. Now there's no farm to plough, the river is dry.
I used to look forward to nice weather. Now I'm almost happy when it rains.
Trees that were, planted in the early and late 50s is now given way, to constructions, of roads and to other human activities. So therefore it is really affecting the climate itself, as well as the weather settings of the areas we are living.
It was so hard to keep me in the back seat of the car coming down the Keys, because it was just teeming with life and color and beauty and wonder. And I have a hard time. We're going underwater now. It makes me very sad.
When I grew up, it was so very nice. The place was clean. We used to drink clean water. We used to go to the rivers to swim. Water was very clean. But now, water is that we don't trust anymore.
How I feel about it? The heat is nonsense, and it's getting even crazier. This is probably because of the El Nino effect, I think. So we feel it too. It's really intense. If you want to go out during the day, you don't have the energy for it. It feels like there is one sun for each person.
It might seem hard for us to imagine ways of coping with our changing environment, but there are many possibilities within our reach. In Cameroon, the coastal city of Douala is not only threatened by flooding, but also by the effects of rapid urban growth. This is a concern for many cities, not just in Africa. But as we're about to see from Douala, employing common sense and respect for nature can go a long way.
Bringing new life to the deforested mangroves. Each seedling is carefully planted by the Planète Urgence team. They want to turn things around in this forest on the outskirts of Douala. René Nungang works for the French NGO and is in charge of the project here on a small island in the Wari River, not far from Douala.
There's a lot to do. The way we found it when we arrived in the field was twice as bad as we imagined from analyzing the satellite images. Much more of the area was degraded. The other difficulty is the invasive plants that are growing everywhere here. So we're trying our best to carry out the reforestation techniques.
The organization started the reforestation project in 2020. The team is also employing local young people to help plant a total of more than 1,000 hectares. Many mangrove forests in Cameroon look like this. The UN estimates that 66% of them have been depleted. Things are especially bad in Douala, a city of around 4 million. It's gradually losing its protection at the mouth of the river, where Wari River flows into the sea. People in the metropolitan area have been cutting down forests in the surroundings for years.
They get it from areas, from the little islands inside the Douala area and out towards the sea, that helps to break this rise in sea level. And because of that, the cutting of this mangrove is exacerbating the situation of flooding, like I said, rise in sea level, which is affecting the increase in flooding.
Mangrove wood is used to build houses and as firewood, especially by the people on the outskirts of Douala and on the islands. Many women also use it to smoke fish that they sell. One fish vendor uses 2 trees worth of wood every month, and it is estimated that over 100 fish vendors work in the region. So a lot of wood gets destroyed. René Nyungang is trying to convince the women to use more efficient methods of smoking the fish.
It's a business that brings in money, but we need to try and limit the problem. The proposal is to use less wood and to reduce the amount of mangrove wood that's used to around 75%. We've seen that these women use an enormous amount of wood to smoke the fish. But we've also learned that there is another method using a chimney, which reduces the amount of wood.
Along with the Planète Urgence, there are also local activists who want to raise people's awareness of the problem. Like Ayamba Achare Elvis. He grew up here and regularly visits the various communities living along the river.
Our mature mangroves, they are all being degraded, they are destroyed. So it's a big threat. And most of the streams where we used to bathe when we were kids, today they have disappeared.
The loss of the mangroves is affecting development in the entire region. This makes rapid reforestation all the more important. To make sure they have enough replacement plants available quickly, they've set up a tree nursery in the area with more than 2 million seedlings. They grow the 2 native species, Rhizophora and Avicennia. Annie Ndumbe has been here since last year and also knows what the plants need.
The soil quality here is good for the plant nursery. We wanted to have our nursery in a place where we can produce high-quality plants that can be planted into the planting area that you see behind me. So the nursery is very close to the planting site. That's very important.
They've already planted around 700,000 seedlings in the region on an area of around 300 hectares. They still have 700 hectares to go to reach their goal, so they are a long way off. But René Nyungang is confident.
We hope that in 30 years, all the areas of mangrove here which have been destroyed will be restored completely. And hopefully the communities will see the benefits again and won't keep destroying the mangroves anymore, because we've made a huge effort in raising awareness.
They need a lot of patience to raise awareness and for planting. René Nyungang and his team regularly checks whether the seedlings are thriving. Using marked sticks, they can see how well they are growing. After all, the success of the project also depends on this.
Human-induced climate change is making extreme weather more common all over the planet. But it is the global south that is bearing the brunt, repairing homes and infrastructure destroyed as a result of changing climate is causing serious financial problems for many developing countries. In 2022, industrialized states agreed to help pay for this loss and damage, but no firm results have followed yet.
You cannot predict what is coming. Like you find when it's season for rain, now sunshine comes in. When it's season for sunshine, now rains come in. So it is so hard to predict.
In Uganda, climate change is turning the seasons upside down, with huge impacts for farmers and city dwellers alike.
Crops are getting destroyed, even when they are still in the garden. You cannot harvest what you have planted, and then that one brings all sorts of conflicts in families, in communities, and in the country at large due to price increment.
In Uganda and beyond, climate change is taking a huge toll. It's being caused by the burning of fossil fuels, primarily by countries in the global north. Scientists say the last 2 years of drought in the Horn of Africa would not have occurred without climate change. Around 23 million people across Ethiopia, Kenya and Somalia now face severe hunger. And the World Bank estimates that more than 9.5 million livestock have died. Experts say it's communities like many across Africa that have done the least to contribute to climate change that are facing the brunts of the impacts.
They lost lives, displacement of their houses. They even don't have enough food.
Loss and damage continues to be a big issue for delegates at this year's climate conference in Dubai. Last year, industrialized nations agreed to develop a fund to help poorer nations deal with the effects of global warming. Extreme weather events like flooding and drought, and so-called slow onset impacts like sea level rise.
We are in a world now where developed countries, the same countries that are saying that they want meaningful mitigation action by us, are continuing applying double standards. Loss and damages that we are facing is because of their emission.
Negotiators have agreed that the World Bank will manage the fund initially, but they've yet to decide on how much money should go into the pot and which countries should get it. Critics say that whatever is promised is unlikely to be enough. Loss and damage in developing countries could reach a total of between $290 and $580 billion annually by 2030, according to some estimates.
Developing countries have put forth a proposal where they're saying we need at least $100 billion per year by 2030. And that is not being acceptable to rich countries. But unfortunately, that's the reality. And I must emphasize the scale of impacts have increased because of the inactions in the past.
While discussions over the details drag on, communities in Africa are facing the realities of a warming planet, and they need the new fund in place soon.
It should be quick, accessible and flexible. Especially, they should put in the mechanism on how to make sure that the affected communities are the ones that are going to receive this fund. And at the same time, it should be operationalized.
But with the financing still potentially months away from being in place, it will be a long time before the people who need it see any compensation for what they've lost.
More frequent flash flooding from extreme cloudburst is one of the side effects of our warming planet. So it would help to know what your city would look like if it was hit by a heavy storm.
Which areas would definitely be flooded? Where would people be the safest? One city in Sweden doesn't want to leave any of these up to fate. It is using an ingenious digital solution to help it prepare for the future.
Gothenburg, Sweden, sometime in the future. In just 5 minutes, there's more than 15 litres of rainfall per square metre. The water can't drain away fast enough. Is this what heavy rain could look like one day in this Swedish city? Fortunately, this was just a simulation. For the people of Gothenburg, this kind of disaster scenario is hard to imagine. But the city is already preparing for an emergency. Gothenburg sits right on the waterfront. Sea levels here in the north are also rising due to higher temperatures and melting glaciers, and extreme weather events are becoming more frequent. Combined, this poses a serious threat to the city, says Deputy Mayor Karin Pleijel.
We are the most vulnerable city in Sweden, in fact, because we are threatened from three directions. We have the sea level and the storms coming from the west and pressing up the water to the city from the sea. And we have the Göta River, which also will have a rising water level and threatening us from that side, and also the heavy rainfalls.
Flooding in downtown Gothenburg is not uncommon even now. These images are from August 2023.
We need a government that really takes these problems seriously, because we cannot do it on ourselves. It costs a lot of money that a single municipality cannot afford, and also we don't have the authority over private property or other municipalities along the Göta River, for example.
Realistic visualizations of these potential scenarios could get the right people to pay attention and take action. That's why Gothenburg has created a digital twin, and it's based on real data. Back in the 1980s, the city began compiling all the information it could about soil conditions, water and sewage pipes, and the road and rail network. Every single tree is noted in a centrally accessible database with its age and height.
We can read every data within the city. And we also have parts of the data are open data to the community. Actually, we have
Based on this data, Eric Chanson's team recreated the city with all its details in 3D. Even the roofs have the right shape. And even the gullies are in the right place.
By working with this parametric modeling, we can change the city and visualize it in several different ways. So that's a very strong mechanism in the digital twin, just working with parametric visualization.
The Universium Science Centre depicts what will happen if the sea level rises even further, and also the various measures that could protect Gothenburg's inner city centre from the water. These yellow lines represent low walls that would hold back river water. And in fact, some of them are already being built. Lisa Ekström is the climate strategist for the Gothenburg City Planning Office.
Here at Parkhuskajen, we have raised the wall next to the shore to protect the city that's on the inside of the wall.
The height of the wall was precisely calculated in advance. This is just one measure to protect the city from rising sea levels.
The digital twin could be good for the city to show all the measures that need to be done and why it has to be done. And I think it's a good tool to visualize for the politicians and for our citizens to show what could happen to Gothenburg in the future.
The problems are known. Now it's a case of making the right decisions. For example, big locks could be constructed that seal the city off from the sea. And during heavy rain, specially created open spaces could ensure that the water collects more quickly and can seep away. Like here in a new development near the Göta River.
This area can contain 500 cubic meters of water. When the heavy rain is coming, it can collect the water here and save the buildings and the housings and everything around.
The greenery here also helps to provide a healthy urban climate. The digital twin, meanwhile, is under constant development. Here in the virtual Gothenburg lab, researchers are experimenting with other potential applications, like virtual city tours that allow users to travel to Gothenburg at a fraction of the carbon footprint.
with digital-backed solutions, we have the next installment of a series about a new district in Vienna, Austria, that has been built to cope with future climate challenges. You can, of course, find all the other episodes and loads of other exciting content on the DW Environment Instagram page. Now, this week, we are going to be looking at how data collection is vital to constructing a modern town.
If you want to build a sustainable city, the first things you need, apart from space, are knowledge, experience, and data. 200 plus scientists are helping to build Seestadt Aspern. The Mobility Lab has been collecting data about how the residents move around. Do they use the new bus line? Do they go shopping by bike or car? And what are their favourite shortcuts? This knowledge is then used to build the next part of Seestadt. The buildings are equipped with a variety of sensors, from photovoltaic systems to heat pumps, to individual households and batteries. The incoming data is then analysed with the aim of optimising not just future buildings, but whole blocks. In addition, they monitor the energy consumption to understand on an individual level what's going on.
Using renewable energy is key to reducing greenhouse gases and making cities and countries fit for the future. Kenya has pledged to get 100% of its electricity from renewable sources by 2030. A lot of it already comes from geothermal energy, which turns heat from deep in the earth into power that we can use. The largest plant in Kenya, and for that matter in Africa, is located near Lake Naivasha. Eco Africa paid it a visit.
Plumes of vapor rise from Hell's Gate National Park in Kenya. 6 large geothermal plants have been built here, Okaria 1 to 6. The Okaria plants generate around 800 megawatts of power and are operated largely by state-owned company KenGen. Resource manager Cyrus Karingithi has been with the firm for 35 years. He says more energy can now be produced faster and for less, using smaller wellhead power plants.
The power plant, the wellhead power plant, you can install it within 6 months. The big plant behind us, you need that 6 months. So if you are to have many wellheads that are equal to the big plant, you'll be able to do it within 6 months.
The expansion of the geothermal plants has not gone without criticism. It displaced Maasai pastoralist communities from their traditional grazing lands. Studies have shown that the forced relocation has significantly decreased their quality of life, and their power plant infrastructure is widely acknowledged to negatively affect local wildlife. Yet Kenya is banking on geothermal energy more than ever. Because with its many mostly extinct volcanoes, the Rift Valley still has plenty of untapped energy. According to government estimates, 10,000 megawatts per year, enough for Kenya to achieve its goal of becoming carbon neutral. And in the Rift Valley, they don't have to drill that deep to access the steam, though it's still a pricey process.
The one well, 30,000 meters would cost you easily between 5 to 6 million US dollars. So the biggest challenge has been adequate financial resources to be able to expand more and more. So support is always, required from bilateral partners.
One of those bilateral partners is Germany. It's been supporting Kenya in the development of geothermal energy for years. In April 2023, Chancellor Olaf Scholz visited to arrange a further partnership worth some 70 million euros.
Kenya and Germany have entered a climate and development partnership, support Kenya in reaching 100% renewable energy supplies, and also support the country's adaptation to climate change.
Here, the green transition is well underway. Almost half of the country's energy already comes from geothermal power. Hydro, wind, and solar power provides most of the rest. In Kenya at least, fossil fuels could soon be history.
That brings us to the end of this special edition of Eco Africa to mark the COP28 talks on climate change in Dubai. We hope we've given you some useful insights into the challenges we all face and shown you some good solutions too. I'm Chris Alam saying, see you next time from Lagos, Nigeria.
See you soon, Chris, and everyone that is watching us on TV. Don't forget that you can always rewatch all Eco Africa's shows and reports online and on social media. You can keep up with the latest news there about conservation and climate protection, as well as clean mobility and livable cities. I am Sandra Holmes, a twin of you, saying goodbye from Kampala, Uganda. Do take care of yourselves and your environment.